Hey guys, welcome to Gitte's Kitchen, a show about body, mind, spirit, holistic health, and veganism. But we have someone who's almost vegan, but not entirely, but who knows more about nut milk than any other person I know in this world, and has perfected the craft to next level. Is kind of like what a rocket scientist would do with nut milk. So I know John from the local farmers market where I do most of my shopping, and he made a company called Omen Melk. And yeah, maybe John, if you can introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm John Carpenter. I'm the CEO of Omen Melk. It's a new company. We started it last year. In September, we actually started our first markets. So it hasn't been a full year. And we've expanded from almond milks to oat milk, flaxseed, and also getting into other types of milks with combinations like chia oat flax or chia oat almond. Along with the nut seed milks that are all sprouted, we actually produced a provisional patent. The patent's discussing more of the properties of fats and waters and using magnetism to balance the two in a more natural state, so you can alleviate the use of any emulsifier, which are denatured stabilizers.
So the purpose of emulsifier is basically stabilizing the fat to the water.
Totally, yeah. It's taking and restructuring properties that would normally separate and making it more agreeable. So the way to kind of ensure that was we started sprouting with using high trace minerals, using boron and using magnesium, also using fulvic to activate the cell structures inside the seeds.
Well, let's talk about sprouted seeds first of all. I mean,
Totally.
I've told you guys about sprouting your seeds and why it's important, but this is like straight from the horse's mouth. So why is it important to sprout seeds first?
There's certain inhibitors in seeds that are considered to block information, but it's also designed in nature to keep the seed dormant. So you have phytic inside of seeds, and like as you see nature, like a squirrel would plant a seed in the yard and wait for it to sprout before it ate it. It's radiating seeds of phytic, so it's activating and unlocking true nutritional information inside the seed. So if you're going to the extent of buying and sourcing raw unpasteurized seeds and nuts, there's another level of information that you can receive from your food if you sprout it. So the fulvic was, the big part of that was the fulvic.
So it's basically an activation of the alchemy of a seed almost.
Yeah, you're kind of cultivating a life force inside.
Yes.
So you're going to inherit some of that life force when you're consuming these foods versus when you're just eating dead foods and your cells are getting calcified and fluoride and demineralized, and you can receive from an average GMO vegetable 3 minerals, NPK.
Oh.
Out of a spectrum of 85, that would leave you in a less viable state overall.
I mean, the big problem with convincing people onto a vegan lifestyle is they have never tasted real whole food.
Right.
For when they do, they are shocked, because the difference between something like what you do and buying nut milks from the store is it's not even an equivalent.
No, and there's certain caveats in owning a company that's a raw nut seed production company, that you're almost swimming upstream the entire time, because unless you're selling directly to the consumer, you can't legally sell retail raw food products outside of the food co-op.
Why is that?
It's because of the pasteurization laws and practices, because there are deaths from certain sources of seeds that were considered raw that made this pasteurization laws very specific.
But so basically, in order to get the health benefits from nuts and seeds, you either have to get it from the farmer's market or grow it yourself.
Exactly.
From the store, no go.
The stores are under clauses of pasteurization, so yeah, they would have either a flash or a steam pasteurization. Typically they'll just radiate it, which is like microwave.
So by the time you drink it, it has pretty much zero benefits.
Well, it's gonna be low. It's gonna be more fibrous than nutritious. It's taking a seed, and you know you can't grow a tree from a dead seed, and so you can't activate a dead seed.
So one of the reasons I decided to do this show was out of love for people, nature, and the beauty of everything, and trying to help people heal from diseases. So basically, you're telling me that there's really no way you're gonna heal from diseases if you're buying store-bought food.
Yeah, there's probably some major limiting factors of consuming local foods like that, because you're getting foods that are meant for storage, consumption, and dollar value versus like more of like a medicinal quality of food, where if you go out and you source certain dill fennel or pollen off of your local dill and fennel pollen, you can use these certain attributes of medicine, like you'd use honey to boost yourself with the immune system. You go into a grocery store and you're seeing stuff that's typically on a shelf for like 3 or 4 months, or it's canned, so it's good for a year.
So, okay, so the problem is, I am telling people, you go and buy stuff in the store, you're not going to be healthy. But that's a lot to ask people to understand. But I'm so grateful that you're really explaining.
There was a lot of limiting factors for myself. I was in the military where you're constantly fed government food, meat, cheese, and fake dairy or real dairy. So there's a lot of things that kind of pushed me to the point of giving up those foods and searching for something that's more realistic. And like being an honest skeptic with everything I was consuming and realizing certain foods weren't necessarily improving the way I felt, and trying to cut those back and like creating like a list of foods that you can go to on a day where, hey, I don't feel so great and like I want to go to the beach and run, so I'm gonna put an extra chocolate bar in my lunch. That way I'm not gonna be stuck with kind of a brain fog. But there was a lot of things that I found that quickly alleviated the symptoms of conventional foods.
So you were in the military.
Yeah.
And then, like, talk me through your process of starting to become super healthy and conscious of living foods.
It started in the military. I was consuming foods and training extremely hard. So I noticed I was 18 years old. It's kind of tricky at that age to tell what foods are good for you versus just eating enough, because I'm still growing. Yeah. So you're growing, you're working out, and you're eating as much as possible, and you're not getting the results, or you're slowing down, or you're feeling more fatigue. So those things push me into more of like a health conscious mindset, but more a conventional health mindset where I need to eat more protein shakes, or I need to go to the gym more often and train harder. And those things necessarily didn't bring complete health. They just give you more of like an itch, like a scratch of the itch. And when I was getting into like living foods, I noted like I woke up feeling more energy, I woke up feeling less of a brain fog, I woke up feeling like I was more connected and grounded. And so all these foods kind of provided something that, like, it's like when you're choosing a group of friends to hang out with, and then you notice like at 6 months in, this friend's not really a part of the contributing side and he's kind of causing problems, so maybe I'm just gonna leave this friend behind. So that was like the way I looked at food.
So it was like a process of elimination. Oh, that's not really working for me.
Totally.
And then you ended up here.
Yeah, burgers and fries didn't cut it.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was a change.
So, I mean, I always say to people, you want to feel good?
Right.
Eat live food. Eat food with life force in it.
Of course.
And you're gonna be like high vibing all day long,
Totally.
But it's a real stretch for people to understand if they choose to go and buy like a fast food hamburger, they're not gonna feel good.
Right. Yeah, it's like you get what you give in all situations in life, and like the young mindset is like, I'll do anything I want. I don't care. I'm never getting old. And the sooner you can leave that behind as a young person, the wiser you become as a person in general. So yeah, you want to focus with like, hey, like if I ate a burger versus going in the grocery store and eating a salad that I created myself, how am I going to feel financially? How am I going to feel health-wise? How am I going to look at the world differently? That's how I felt.
So, in fact, if you really want to change the world, change what you eat. Because the world is going to reflect itself back to you in a totally different way.
Right. That's a big factor, too. A lot of people do think that they can change the world for the better, but they need to start with themselves. If you can change yourself, you can become an influence to people because your actions are going to speak way louder. Most definitely.
It's a vibratory thing. And
Totally.
you are part of consciousness, and just by you being in peace and full of love,
right,
it changes reality for everybody.
Totally.
You know?
Yeah, and that's the whole idea behind the product line as well. Is this, I want to share with people like the connection with food that I found versus like keep it to myself and just eat it all. And for my friends, like it's obvious to me that it's meant for more people.
So you literally went from the army to making nut milk.
All the seed milk, and we're reaching out to like hemp seeds are becoming evidently clear market because they're legal this year for the first time. So
they're only just legal now.
January 1st, so that market for hemp milk and sprouted hemp milk and true sprouted milk is going to contribute.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So hemp milk has actually been difficult to get.
Of course, you'd have to purchase it over the mail or from Canada.
Whoa.
So,
okay.
California, it's going. So yeah, there's farmers that are beginning to put out feelers, but I think there's a lot of caution with this.
With hemp, with growing hemp.
Of course, yeah. People are still kind of nervous.
Yeah, because of the stigma with marijuana. Or...
Of course, that and the government being able to seize a crop that you've worked and spent a lot of money on.
So, and what is like, so hemp milk, I make it every morning.
Yeah.
It's like, I used to make coconut milk every morning. But hemp milk is so much easier and really feels good too. So
it's really filling. There's a very high protein count in hemp seeds. There's a lot of good oils and fats also that contribute towards like just feeling more vibrant. And especially if we can get local seeds, that's gonna be the big game changer for people consuming seed milks. Is to be able to cultivate a local seed and have a local seed sprouted and activated, and now we're drinking milk that's actually from our local environment.
And what is the benefits of doing that?
From root to harvest, you're having something that's living and breathing and cohabitating in your environment. So there's parts of the nutrition that you're going to inherit through that plant that you couldn't receive if you're receiving cheese seeds from China, per se, that have been microwaved.
Oh.
So.
Yeah. Well, so this is the problem for me, to try and, you know, not only am I taking away all processed food from people if I can, I'm asking them to eat raw, and I'm asking them to eat local, and I'm asking them to eat things they probably would never dreamt of eating, like the peel of a lemon, or you know, the peel of an orange, put it in the blender. So it's really fast stretching, but it's, if you're healing from a disease, you need to listen to all of this because it's vital.
Totally.
So I'm here to, I mean, of course, for people who are turning from animal food to
transitional.
Yeah, transitional, letting go of dairy, which to me is the biggest way to save this planet and prevent other people from having to starve. There's plenty for all of us if we're all vegan. It's the game changer. It's absolutely vital in the new world we are going into. So I want people to switch into veganism, of course, because animals are not what we thought they were. They're like fully conscious. They remember everything. They are like part of us.
Well, on that aspect, as a philanthropist and a lover of animals, of course. And the other side of it is there's parasites that are affiliated with the certain meats that are being consumed. So if you have somebody that's going and getting ground beef and eating these foods where they're clearly cutting cancer out of the cattle and harvesting meat, there's cancer flowing through these animals. People are consuming them, and there's a parasite that goes along with that in the stomach that changes the mindset. And people call it, oh, I can't give up my meat, and I can't give up my dairy or
but
my
it's
cheese.
The addiction from the parasite
But that's
that
the
they
parasite
have.
speaking for the person. Just
Yeah.
like alcoholism or drugs or any type of addiction towards feeling a certain way. There's good parasites that you want to cultivate, and live foods are evidence of good parasites.
Yeah.
Once you start to consume live foods, you have no cravings for these parasitic foods that are clearly causing cancer or inflammation.
That's what I'm saying, you guys. It's like there's a war going on inside. It's in your second brain, and if you're feeding the good guys, they don't stand a chance. And it's as simple as that. But I know like girls in their 20s now with breast cancer. It is so like unbelievable, but it's clearly absolutely about not just our emotional unhealthiness, our physical unhealthiness,
Definitely.
So John, do you want to explain what you brought today?
Yeah, so I brought the Melks and the superfoods and some of the pickled items that we do. So the Melks are kind of like the flagship product. We've included a few other varieties of seed milks for us for obvious reasons. Just having a variety of wide spectrum food is kind of the mantra of our company. So when we went into creating and refining our main product, which was almond milk, we kind of found ourselves including oats, including flaxseed, including chia seed, and using pumpkin seed in the fall. That was a really good milk also. And so everything we kind of created out of the milk moved over into like the elixir category, where I was kind of creating a superfood blend for a while of foods that I found more adaptable and useful into diets that were maybe lacking. So
this is your superfood?
Yeah, I call it the JC superfood.
So what will this do for you?
So it's just adaptogenics and super
Explain
valuable
for
nutrients. So
ordinary
adaptogenics
people.
are foods that are highly adaptable. They
Not
thrive
that
in
any of us is ordinary. We're not. We're amazing.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're right. So the adaptogenics are just really valuable foods that grow in harsh environments that have superpower almost to make it in like lacking of nutrient soil.
So what, like
or
shilajit?
Shilajit. Yeah, that's one that I included. That's a tar actually that I found. It's from the highest elevation in the Himalayas, so it's got 85 minerals per serving. I've noted it in some of the documents that Leonardo da Vinci was discussing about food.
Wow.
So there's obvious reasons to pay attention to these foods.
I mean, the first time I tried shilajit, I was shocked. I was like,
yeah,
this is like a natural molly or ecstasy. You just feel so...
It's wide spectrum minerals, so it's the way that you should feel all the time. And it's funny that people associate that with molly or like drugs, because those are like an attempt to get there without using nutrition, which is the building blocks of happiness. So yeah, shilajit, in my opinion, with the mineral content, and like I personally experiment with it all the time, where I'll take like 3 servings a day, or I'll take 1 serving a day, then I'll take a month off and see how I feel.
And do you feel it immediately when you take it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It's got some power that other foods are lacking. So if you're taking these foods along with like other, iodine is huge, magnesium is
Why
huge.
is iodine so important right now?
especially right now because it's helping your cells stay adaptable in certain circumstances where you're being constantly radiated or.
So it's for radiation, basically, right?
Adaptability.
Yeah.
Extreme adaptability.
That's really the only shield, you guys, for radiation is good iodine. It's really, we live in a time where we are bombarded by radiation exposure all the time. Even from your cell phone, it's massive amounts. So
definitely
listen up.
Yeah. And the best way to do it that I find is I mix it with magnesium. And I put it topically in the wrist. So transdermally, you'll see a mark on your wrist of iodine with magnesium. It tingles a little bit, but it helps to charge the battery, the master gland of the lymphatic system, which is going to improve the whole adaptability of your body.
So for most people, they don't know what the lymphatic system is, but it's like the dirty secret, like that basically is what's gonna, if you have a good lymphatic system, all the toxins and all the things that needs to pass through your body gets taken out by your body in a very clean, simple way. But if your lymph system is not working correctly, you can't eliminate, and then you really have problems, especially if you're eating processed food and exposed to radiation.
Well, the processed food is radiated, so you're consuming parts of it in all ways. So with that, your body's naturally going to take into the cell structure calcium and fluoride if it's lacking in iodine. So the iodine is something that's kind of like putting rejuvenation and life force back into the cell. And nobody really knows how the master thyroid gland works. That's why you refer to it as like the dirty secret. So you do know certain things are evident in vitality. So that's what you have to lean back on. It's not like, oh, I know more than my doctor, I'm a raw vegan. It's not the mindset you want to take. You want to take into consideration like, these foods may be good for me, these foods are horrible for me, my doctor says I should do this. This is like where I feel comfortable.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I haven't been to the doctor for over 20 years because I eat this food. And
I haven't either, but I know there is people out there that need things that can't just switch over. Well, I've saw it in my grandfather with diabetes.
Yeah, but that's so easy to deal with.
It's easy to deal with. But if they're not willing to do this daily,
it's the emotional thing. It's the psychology behind getting people to actually eat this food.
Well, it's the remnants of their past, which is evidence of depression. Yeah. Depression creating a circular reasoning and like, oh, this is feeding that
path of depression. Yeah.
And then giving up ultimately, and like accepting to be sick.
Yeah.
Which it's not necessary for people to go through.
No.
At all.
There is pretty much no incurable disease. I mean,
and this isn't magic. This is food. This is just like being cognizant of what you're consuming.
Yeah. So. I mean, the psychological is more complicated, but it definitely, once you get on the live food, it changes everything about your psychology, and it'll lift depression so quickly.
Totally.
Like within a day, man. Like.
Well, instantly. Yeah.
Like you eat raw food for one day, you're gonna feel like you've never felt before. It's
of course, yeah. There's that. I mean, I love like when I'm after running, I'll eat honeycomb, and that to me, it's not vegan, but it's like one of those foods that just brings power. I feel like, and especially like the propolis and like the sweetness. It's similar to me like if people aren't used to eating these foods, it's like you've gone like on an extreme exercise without this, and then you come back to it and it's going to give you the life force back.
Yeah.
So
it's going to be a huge
it's gonna be an
electric shock to your system. Yeah.
It's like if you went to bed every week and you just ate a salad before bed, I promise you'd feel different the next week.
Totally.
So.
Totally. Well, you know, once your nasty parasites from rotting meat in your gut, I mean, it'll sit there for weeks and weeks. There are like things in your gut that has been there for years that is stuck, rotten, full of parasites. So if you can get all that out of you and create a whole new biosystem in there, it's really easy to live this way because you would never choose to do anything else.
Right. Yeah, it's to like know the truth and then to turn your back on the truth and go back to the dumpster.
Yeah, why would you do that?
Hang out
right?
in the dumpster all week.
Well, you sort of do. You in the beginning you're like, oh, maybe I'll have some potato chips, and you eat the chips, and then you go,
Oreo
ooh,
cookies.
I don't really feel so good. What happened to me?
Yeah.
And then you like weigh up, and you're like, oh, that really wasn't worth it. Let me stick to the live food.
The carrots and the broccoli and the artichokes.
Yeah,
Kale.
and the fruit.
And the fruit.
The highest vibe food.
I think that's the sugar that improves everything the quickest.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. People think fruit sugar and refined sugar is the same.
Totally.
And it's really not.
They're not the same.
This cures you and the other makes you sick.
This one comes from a flower.
From a flower?
Yeah.
So, maybe talk me through like your different products.
So yeah, the almond milk, the oat milk, and the flax milk. The almond milk, it's just a raw sprouted almond. We use Yemen's farms. They're found in Hollywood Farmers Market, where our Omen Melk stand also is.
So what's the thing about like almonds, for example, because that's not that easy to get raw, right?
No, it's very difficult unless you're reaching out directly to a farm or you're in the farmer's market working directly with a local farm. That'd be the only way you'll find a raw almond that's sproutable that can actually turn into a tree.
In
ultimately.
America? Or
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, especially from that standpoint, because any almond coming in from Europe typically is pasteurized, and like there's a strict organization that makes sure like those pollens from those certain seeds don't cross-pollinate and create diseases for our trees. So it's not easy to bring European nuts over to start propagation.
So you really have to eat like local nuts if you want any of the benefits.
Well, California's quickly become the #1 almond supplier, almond pistachio. So it's easier for us in California, but California almonds are probably the first choice for everyone in the United States. They should look to California. And then the oat milk, I'm using Kandarian Farms. I work with Larry every Wednesday in Santa Monica. Larry's a super awesome dude. We call him Legendary Larry because he's just a walking farmer's almanac, where he'll come in and he'll bring in exotic heirloom grains, beans, and seeds, and that's what's kind of cultivated this relationship with the milks, is he's put really cool, unique seeds in front of us. We have the oat milk, which is 99% nude, gluten-free, ancient heirloom oats.
So do you also sprout the oats?
Of course, yeah.
Oh, that's my little dog.
We sprout the oats, we sprout the flax, we sprout the almonds, we sprout the pumpkin seeds, and we're gonna sprout the hemp seeds soon. So we're gonna have just combinations of all these different seeds that are producing sweetnesses and vitamins and nutrition.
And do you put anything sweet in? Like what?
No,
what?
The sweetness is all coming from the actual almonds. So
yeah, can I taste it?
yeah, absolutely.
What is that?
So this is the oat.
Wow.
So
this is super unique in flavor.
Thing about it's interesting. The oat farm is next door to a fennel field, and the
so
fennel
there's
pollen
fennels
settled on.
That's what
oats,
Wow.
But it has
that's
like
kind of what
a fennel seed taste to it, and Larry has kept these seeds specifically for the company, so nobody else in the world is getting this oat.
Wow.
Which is 99% nude, which just makes it easier for us to sprout, which makes better oat milk.
So let's say you're making your oat milk. It's sprouted and then you magnetize it? Or?
Yeah, so we sprout it and then we wrote a provisional patent last year that kind of outlines the principles of magnetization of fats and waters. So we're incorporating 4 different fields of magnetism that are restructuring the fat and water so they don't need necessarily an emulsification to keep them from separating. And that's
So-
like the biggest hurdle for the nut milks that are raw. Is like there's evidence and separation.
So usually you have like a settlement and then just water, and then you have to shake it, correct?
Totally.
Yeah.
And that's natural.
And look at this, guys. There's nothing, like there's a little bit of something more solid down the bottom, but look how like nicely.
The sediment is, because everything's cold pressed. So there's a little bit of the oat that escapes through. But the overall separation would occur like about midway, typically. So what we're really paying attention to is getting like all the oils and fats when we're pressing everything and making sure that it's as thick as possible for a nut seed milk. Flax is like very thick. That's probably one of the more difficult.
This is the flax.
This is oat, and this is flax.
That's flax, yeah.
So the flax is a little bit more difficult to manipulate. Once they're sprouted, they have the mucosaloid that turns them into like a chia seed pudding.
Yeah.
So yeah, you kind of have to.
Yeah, they get super creamy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's really good. We've actually had it steamable, so that's kind of like a conventional way to put it out in the market, is to have an alternative raw milk that's used for coffee bars.
Right, yeah.
So-
Because actually, in fact, when you go to different coffee bars, usually you have soy milk, which is really not that good for you at all.
Most likely GMO'd soy.
Yeah, because there's hardly any soy left that isn't GMO.
Because the government owns it all.
Because the government owns it all, and then we get into who the fuck is the government, and then we get into deep state, and then we get into exactly what the war is about.
Yeah.
You know, but we could talk about that for a million hours, I'm sure.
There's a lot of distrust in the government with current situations in our food. I feel like
But why would they not want us to be healthy?
there's a lot of power in pharmaceutical companies providing financial stability to the medical industry. So these people aren't going to walk away from a paycheck.
Nope.
Just like we wouldn't, but we do it in a different way.
Well, that's why, like as Frank, our producer, says, once you let in the white guys in the suits, it's done. Don't ever let them in, just keep them out.
Yeah, totally.
Keep it local, keep it simple.
Well,
like,
yeah, and I've seen both sides, and I've worked for both sides, and
yeah, that's what makes you so interesting, because
Yeah.
you've been in the army, so you understand things in a different way.
I was in the Coast Guard, but
Oh, the Coast Guard.
yeah, it's different. It's more of a life-saving service,
Yeah.
but still, it's a lot of the same programs and schooling, so the regiment's similar. But yeah, it kind of pushed me into more of like a realistic perspective of what I was eating earlier than I think would naturally happen, because I was eating like super protein shakes that someone that played high school football told me was good for me. And that was not like the right mindset for how I felt at the age of 22.
It's so hard to explain to people what these protein shakes are made of, what it does to you.
Totally.
So it's almost like better to just provide them with something more awesome.
Yeah, and that's our goal, is to make this as a transitional food something that's competitive enough to get to the point where people can get it for a cheaper price than they would pay for milk. And they're having living foods.
Yeah.
Because there's enough desire for it that we're
Yeah.
supplying
Yeah.
enough people with these healthy foods that it's an obvious choice.
I mean, so obviously making something like this at home is like super complicated, but I brought John on mainly to inspire you to at least try to do some things at home. Or if you're going to the farmer's market, go see him.
Totally.
He's gonna blow your mind.
We do 5 a week, so right now we're doing Santa Monica twice a week, Westwood, Hollywood, Playa Vista, and Mar Vista.
And if you live in the Midwest, I don't know what to suggest for you. You have to make it at home.
Well,
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
everyone can come on vacation and,
Yeah, come to California.
and trust that they can find good foods at the market.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like the saving grace of Hollywood for me, is the farmer's market.
Yeah, me
Because
too.
that's where you meet the best people.
For sure, it's like you go anywhere else in Hollywood, everyone is depressed and unfriendly, sad looking. You go to the farmer's market, everyone seems happy and friendly and open. It's crazy.
They're not receiving the love because they're not eating the love.
They're not eating the love.
It's evident when you're walking around here.
Talk about eating love. Can we talk about this?
So we have a pickled daikon. The daikons are the Japanese radish. The major contributing factor for this again was Larry Kandarian, because the brine seasoning is all grown in San Luis Obispo at his farm. So the coriander, the fennel, the dill seed, the anise, the...
And why daikon? What is it about daikon?
I have a really good relationship with the daikon farmer, so we trade almond milk for daikons, and
no, but okay,
I
was gonna ask you about the medicinal properties.
Oh, specifically, daikons. Well, for me, it's just a good way to bring in fermented vegetables to help balance the probiotics in the stomach. A lot of people are starting to pay attention.
Oh, little dog is trying to steal the milk.
The pH balance of the stomach, and by using like fermented local raw foods, you're bringing in like the best bacteria you can put to balance the pH.
And daikon is super good for your liver, so it helps you digest, or it helps your liver to heal with cooked oils and shit like that, like the stuff you have been accumulating with like eating processed food.
Absolutely.
So daikon.
Yeah, I didn't even mention that. So totally, yeah, that's a huge thing about daikon specifically. And the local Japanese daikons are beautiful, so it's always a pleasure to get these and mess around and experiment with any kind of new vegetable.
Okay, so let me get you to talk a little bit about this superfood and what's in it.
Totally. So yeah, I made these and I started putting them in jars because I had a kitchen that just had 5-pound bags of superfood everywhere, and it kind of drove my roommates nuts. So I put them in jars and then kind of introduced them to my family and friends, and people were just trying to buy them right away. And I was
Little is going crazy for this nut milk.
I was trying to just give them out as gifts and get feedback, but I realized that whatever I was putting in here was making people feel better. So it's the principles of it is just putting wide spectrum adaptogenics and superfood together.
So what's in it?
So we started with spirulina, chlorella, maca baobab, Himalayan pink salt, milk thistle, mucuna, MSM, shilajit, acai, alma, ashwagandha, goji, noni, bladderwhack, cordyceps, green papaya, alfalfa leaf, sea buckthorn, mangosteen.
So basically, you can hear this stuff is so powerful. Like this is like literally health in a jar. Like,
it's funny.
Whoa.
I started making the jars when I got out of the Coast Guard, and when I started eating it, I was eating it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. With the almond milk, and I would throw in like cacao butter and then some coconut oil, like a couple tablespoons.
So do you think people could make this themselves? Like,
definitely. The ingredients are all listed. You can go out and source these things. The reason that I put them together is because I source at larger quantities, so I get a price break.
Yeah.
So literally, I'm just trying to get it to people like in a more conscious way.
Yeah. So you sell them at the farmers market?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I started doing that.
And can people? Are they able to like buy it online? Or?
Totally. OMENMELK.com.
Amazing.
We sell it. So.
And obviously the milk, no. But
yeah, we sell everything on our website.
So if. Can they get it shipped fast enough to like...
Totally.
Really?
We have a team that's cold shipping, and we're working on getting a co-packer, so we're getting to that level very rapidly.
Great.
But we're doing it ourselves.
Amazing.
Right now we're sending stuff out.
Great.
But yeah, the superfood, just using this alone, I went from 205 to 140, like 135 era. And then I started eating.
So just by bringing live food into your body, but you were still eating the other stuff you used to eat?
No, I cut everything. I just lived on the superfood.
Whoa, okay.
And I felt better than I've ever felt before.
Wow.
I could run longer. There was less fatigue.
So people who say they don't want to be vegan because they don't feel like they get enough, like they can't really work out and stuff like that. In your experience, that's not true.
I just encourage those people to be more honest with themselves versus saying, I can't, use the word I can't, and see how that feels. Because if you uncover something about yourself, I promise you're going to be grateful. Versus saying that I can't do this without my meat.
Yeah.
That's how I used to live my life as well. You know, I wasn't an advocate for vegans up until maybe the point of 27 years old. I thought it was just ridiculous. So once I started to settle into the facts that are evident in nutrition, I realized how wrong I was about food. So it contributed towards growth, and like the quickest, most intelligent man is gonna realize his mistake, do a U-turn and go back the other way.
That's right.
So that's kind of where I came with that.
So yeah, the vegan thing for me is, you know, it was all these myths about we need meat, we need dairy, it's simply not true. It's highly inflammatory food. You get the live food into your body, it's just
well, it is.
pure,
It's like
so
a parasite
healing.
saying I need.
Yeah.
Because those
Don't listen.
parasites, they need it to survive.
It's true. You're
not
gonna
a parasite.
kill the fucked up parasites from the rotting meat in your gut if you eat this food.
Yeah.
So who's in control, you or the parasite, right?
Exactly.
So okay, well listen,
Yeah.
thank you so much for
course,
coming
yeah.
on. You brought a wealth of knowledge and wisdom, and honestly, I'm so grateful.
Thank
And look for John at the farmer's market, or get onto the internet. And
Thanks, guys. Yeah. Our website is OMENMELK, OMENMELK.com. Just to clarify, because it's kind of a weird spelling.
Yeah.
We trademarked the word milk to signify seed milk, or not any dairy.
Yeah.
Anything to do with dairy. So.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So get on it.
Thanks,
You
guys.
can do it. Do it.